Good morning. We're going to talk today about finding your voice. We're going to start talking about why it's important to find our voice. Then we're going to hit why we have trouble with this in the first place, what kinds of things have caused us to get to this point where we don't always feel able to access our voice. And then we're going to talk about how to start doing it more. So how to nurture this, speaking authentically and finding and we're saying speaking and voice. This is any kind of communication. So it might be art, it might be written communication. It's your voice in not in a literal format. So it can certainly be your voice, but it can also be other forms of communication and expressing yourself. All right, so why do we need to share our voice in the first place? The first is we can often feel regret and we can wish that we had said something if we don't use our voice. So maybe we leave something unsaid in terms of how we feel toward others, or maybe we don't speak in a way that respects our boundaries, or we don't speak up for ourselves to set a healthy boundary with someone who might be pushing against those boundaries. So those are two big reasons why we want to be able to share our voice. We also want to be able to share our gifts. So we all have gifts in the world. We're all here for a reason. And if we don't share our perspectives, how we're feeling, or even our gifts, then we are shortchanging not just ourselves, but everyone around us. So let's say that you are an amazing artist and you're afraid to put your art out there because you're afraid of it being rejected or criticized. You are keeping the world from the gift of your art because art has energy and you're withholding your energy. And you're also keeping it from yourself, being able to express yourself. So we shortchange both ourselves and the people around us. The other reason we really need to find our voice is a lot of times we have needs that we are having trouble articulating and sharing. And if we don't have our needs met, we can get a bit resentful, we can get angry, we can get bitter that our needs don't get met, but we're not realizing that we're not sharing them. And some people are mind readers, but many of us are not very good at it. So we definitely want to share this information with the people around us who need to know. Our children, our partners, our coworkers, our family. So if we don't share it, we can assume that people don't know, rather than assuming that they should just know. So it's very important that we start speaking up for what we need, what we want, what needs to get done, or our boundaries, what we're willing to tolerate or not tolerate, to step into our power and move forward. All right, so why do we have trouble finding our voice in the first place? If this is an issue for you, I invite you to sit back and think about a time in your life, typically your childhood, where you didn't feel that you could express yourself without being criticized, without being judged, without being even punished at times. So if you have memories of times where that happened, that's what needs to be recognized and processed. That fear of what's going to happen if I speak up, who's going to become angry, who's going to get offended, who's going to think I'm too crazy or weird, any of those types. Who's going to judge me as wrong? Who's going to tell me that I'm wrong? And I have a fear of being told that I'm wrong, even when I know that I'm right. These things can all shut down this throat energy center and our ability to speak our truth, to be authentically us. So we want to just sit back, clear your mind, and think about your childhood. Think about who might have influenced you to place boundaries on your ability to express yourself. And the thing we need to remember here is it doesn't take a whole lot. All it takes is a perfectly placed comment by a teacher or a parent or a sibling. Just takes a couple of times and it can completely shut us down if we are already sensitive to this in the first place. So you don't need to feel that that it had to be years and years of repression for this to make an impact in you. It's not that way at all. It can be a minor thing, or it seemed minor from the outside, but it had a big lasting impact within you. So we just want to invite anything in your past to release that might be inhibiting this throat or the ability to communicate and express yourself freely. Now, if we have fear, let's just say you connect with that memory and you remember being afraid to speak your truth because you were going to be told that you were wrong or criticized or yelled at or punished. We need to connect with the feelings of those moments. So typically there's a fear. There's also a very deep grief of rejection, or even a fear of being rejected, a fear of having love withheld. So if people judge us as wrong or too crazy or too out there or too different, they can actually kind of pull their attention away and reject us. And that creates boundaries around the heart, or layers, armoring around the heart, and it definitely impacts our ability to feel confident in ourselves and our ability to own our unique gifts. So we want to invite all of this to come to your awareness in a way that allows the energy to clear and start unburdening this throat chakra. All right. So there's some light background on why we need to share our voice and why we get trapped in some of these patterns. Now let's talk about what we can do about it. How can we start nurturing our voice? Even if you don't think you have a problem, maybe you're holding yourself back in some small way, and these practices might help you start to step into more power in this throat. So the first step is just to recognize the pattern. Recognize that you are holding your energy back and not speaking your truth. So you might start noticing after you leave a conversation, gosh, I wish I had said something. I wish I had said this, or I wish I had made my point, or I wish I had defended myself. That's recognizing the pattern. So start seeing that pattern within yourself. That's a very large part of the solution. The next step is to commit to change, to really being willing to make a change. By noticing and then being committed, you can start really getting some forward momentum just with those two things, even though we haven't even talked about action yet. You're energetically telling your throat and your body that you mean business and you're willing to do this. The next step is to release the past. So we talked about connecting with that past and some of the types of issues that might be underlying this dysfunction in the throat energy. The next step is to kind of recognize it and allow it to be released, to set the intention that you're willing to let this go. You want to step into a new mode of operating in your life and in the world around you. Again, the commitment will make things start to happen. And then the best way, I believe, what I recommend to my clients is to address the present. And that means to being committed to taking small action where you use your voice. So maybe the whole family, let's just say you have a family and you're getting ready to go out to eat dinner, and a couple of people have strong opinions, and you normally would just say, whatever is fine with me, because you don't want to cause conflict, you don't want to add to the fray. A way to use your voice is to actually voice your opinion. By committing to saying something, you're forcing yourself to tune in and know what you would prefer or what you would like. And then you're also taking action and using your voice. Every time we use our voice, we kick some energy out and get the energy moving in that throat chakra, that throat energy center. So you can take small, little situations where you wouldn't have spoken up before and force yourself to say something. It could be as simple as saying hello to a stranger walking by on the street, actually making eye contact and saying hello, or how do you do, or lovely day, or something, some kind of salutation. Using your voice in this way will help start to open up that throat chakra. Obviously, singing, acting, any place where you have to use your voice is going to amp this up tremendously. So singing to yourself in the car is actually a way to get that throat energy working. I've actually practiced that myself. I've also heard humming can actually really shift the different glands that are in our head, the pituitary, the pineal. The action of humming creates a vibration, so you can play with that as well. But anytime you can use your voice, little or big, you're going to start opening up the blockages that are keeping this energy stuck. All right. So these are little practices you can do anywhere, anytime. Let's talk about the thyroid gland, because what happens when that throat energy is repressed for a long time, the thyroid typically gets out of balance. The thyroid gland is a small gland right here in the throat, and it governs our metabolic energy. It controls our metabolism, and it requires minerals, especially iodine and selenium, to be healthy, to function in balance. Unfortunately, we have many chemicals called halides in our environment, in our everyday life, on our food, in our food, that in pools as well. Pools, water, hot tubs, all of these have a lot of halides. These halides kick out, they clog up the iodine receptors in our thyroid gland, and they keep the thyroid from being able to uptake iodine, which then allows the thyroid to produce thyroid hormone. So the toxicity directly affects the thyroid, and we're exposed to it all of the time. If you have a history as a swimmer with heavier than normal exposure to chlorine, if you have other toxic exposures that might set you up for depletion, this thyroid gland can be affected. Up to I forget the number. There are many, like 25 million Americans have thyroid disorders, and it's believed that there are many more that are undiagnosed. So this is a common thing. The other issue is you can have a suppressed thyroid and have no symptoms whatsoever. You just don't even know that it's an issue for you. So if you have trouble voicing your opinions and using your voice, getting your thyroid checked out isn't a bad idea. It's a simple blood test, and your doctor can run it for you. There's much information out on the internet about what a normal and healthy level of thyroid hormone is. Be aware that the lab ranges are too big. So you can actually be hypothyroid and have hypothyroid symptoms within the normal lab ranges. So just be aware of that. So definitely it's worth, if you have some of these patterns in your mind-body relationship, it can be worth it to get the thyroid checked out. There are many ways to support the thyroid gland. One of them is to just take a multivitamin that is food-based, that includes selenium and iodine. Sometimes if we have a lot of toxicity, we might need to supplement with an iodine, with a thyroid supplement that is nutritive. It just has all of the nutrients that the thyroid needs. And then sometimes we do need to resort to actually supporting the thyroid with hormone. And there are natural sources that are easily used by the body to do that. So I hope this has given you an overview of the throat energy center, of the thyroid, of some mind practices, everyday practices we can do to get this energy moving, and then the physical side as well. Obviously, the physical and the mind are intertwined, and they all come together. So if we have imbalance in the physical, it can create imbalance in the mind. If we have imbalance in the mind, it can create imbalance in the physical. So we go hand in hand here, and we work with both. I believe, though, that the mind and the energy connection will block the physical from being able to be resolved if it's not addressed. So I always like to start with the mind connection. Start with those practices. Start trying to use your voice in situations that are non-threatening, and see if you can get some traction. And start using your voice, start sharing your gifts, start getting your needs met. It's really a wonderful combination. It's a winning combination. So I would like to ask if there are any questions at all. You can chat them in on the post down below in the comments. I also will be checking these, so if you're watching the replay, don't be shy. If you have questions, hop in. Love to start a discussion, helping you get this energy center moving, because it is so important to your energy levels, how you feel. If you feel sluggish and tired, this all can be affected by this part of the body.